Drake, there is a huge game on Saturday, but there is some off-field drama that comes with this week too. There are rumors, and I want to get your take because all things BYU matter to the host of Locked On Big 12. Could Kalani Sitake be coaching his final game at BYU this weekend?
Wow. I mean, just look, hearing that statement kind of makes you shudder a little bit.
A little bit.
It's not fun to hear. And yeah, he could. I don't think he will. And there's a lot to unpack with this. But the further we get, even still early in the week, the more I think, man, there's a way that this could happen. So like TJ, I texted you, said, hey, we really need to talk about Kalani Sitake and whether or not this is a possibility of him leaving BYU. And you said, oh, is that like some clickbait stuff or something? I was like, dog, there's a shot. He's number one on the odds right now to go to Penn State. There's a real chance that he would win at Penn State. And look, as I've said on social media, and I said it on my show, outright, if I'm an 11-1 team in my conference and cannot get in the college football playoff as an at-large, I want to go to a different conference. I want to go somewhere where I can be respected. I want to go somewhere where I have a better shot to go to the college football playoff. So I wouldn't blame Sitake. What comes with success is opportunities. So him checking out an opportunity, the same way a guy like Scott Drew, who's super loyal at Baylor, checked out Kentucky. I wouldn't blame Kalani Sitake for doing that, of course. But the more I start to say things like that, the more I'm like, oh, shoot, what if they make this a really good deal for him and he can go coach at the Big Ten level of college football and at Penn State where they do have incredible resources and an incredible fan base. And it reminds me a lot of like a BYU up in the Northeast. Liam Blutman says regarding Penn State at this current moment, I would be very surprised if the hire is not Sitake. In fact, I think a deal could be done fairly soon. It's a big offer and BYU can't match it. Now, I don't think that BYU is unable to match. That's not the case here, Liam Blutman. That is bad reporting on his part. BYU can match pretty much anything if they want to. He says, as I stated a few days ago, Heupel declined Penn State. I don't know why that got steamed today out of nowhere. As of today, Riley is out of the Penn State sweepstakes, tried to get leverage for a Georgia Tech extension, or Georgia Tech coaches try to use leverage for an extension. None of that worked out. Sitake seems to be the guy, and this guy would be very, very surprised if he didn't go to Penn State. Those are the reports that are starting to worry me across the country, and but it's possible. Anything is possible. But when you say Kalani Sitake coaching his last game at BYU, at least it's on the table.
I feel like I need a breath.
Isn't that weird, man? I don't
even smoke and I could use a cigarette right now.
Honor violation.
For real. I'm not going to for the folks watching. I'll just stick with the Diet Dr. Pepper. Also, well, no, that one's good. Mm-hmm. Back to the Sitake stuff. We've seen so many alums, like Dillingham being floated at LSU if they would have missed on Lane, and then Brahm's name, and then Brent Key's name. And man, I just think it's a little bit different when it's an alum coaching at a school. And so does that, would he really leave? I understand. Listen, as a guy that's in the ACC, I understand the way that our programs are treated. Again, there were other circumstances, but Florida State got left out after being undefeated and then winning a conference title game with a third string quarterback that would not have played in the eventual playoff. So I get it. I understand access. I understand the way that the Big 12 and the ACC programs are unfortunately viewed by most of the country and certainly by the College Football Playoff Committee, ESPN, all these places. But man, what an alum, unless the money was just double or something insane and BYU just said, hey, we're going to stand on our principle and not do this. Like, I know there's concern, but like, I just don't think I could wrap my head around him leaving.
I couldn't. And I didn't want to put any stock into this, but then again, it's been almost 10 years. And look, I've had jobs for 3 years that I was having success in, and I thought, if the right offer comes down the pipeline, and I'm not saying that I am Kalani Sitake or he is me, but everyone's a human being. And when the right offer calls, when the right phone call calls, and if your family says, or your wife says, or your kids say, or your dad says, or any of those things, then maybe you do look at it and say, what if? Now, I have talked to Kalani, not in the wake of this, but have talked to him before to understand his heart, I think, and how he values BYU and the way that his wife loves BYU and loves everything Cougars. And I think his kids are happy. His family's happy. What a place to be. He's the next Lavelle Edwards there. He's a legend already. Could be a statue coach. They could name the field after him. You throw that away. Like, they'll say thank you. They'll love you for the 9 years, 10 years of service that you gave them. But once you walk out the door, you don't get the statue anymore. It doesn't get to be, oh, we love you so much. Thank you for your service, and we're going to continue to root for you against us. Like, now you're the new head coach at Penn State. You don't get to have that. You lose access to the BYU family the way that you had it in Provo. And then I'm not saying they're going to hate him. Obviously, they wouldn't. They would love him to death, and it would still be, thank you for your service. But thank you for your service and the legendary statue coach who gave BYU his career. Those are two very, very different things. There's certainly, again, there's a likelihood here, but the reason I don't want to see it, the reason I hope it does not happen is I could foresee Kalani Sitake. Grass isn't greener. I'm going to stay at BYU and be the second greatest coach in school history behind Lavelle Edwards, or the greatest coach in school history right there with Lavelle Edwards. And right off into the sunset as a Cougar for life. That's where I would want my legacy to be. But if enough from money to will make it happen, to bring your staff to we want you in Happy Valley to win a national championship, here's how we can give you a more stable place to win a title. That's where I think a coach can be swayed. And again, TJ, a big piece of this is on the College Football Playoff Committee, leaving at 11-1 Penn State's number 3 in the country.
Just before we go on, I will remind you that all of our content is brought to you by Sleeper this year. We appreciate Sleeper for their support and hope that you are using their app with the code CFA for a 100% match up to $100. Make sure you check their terms and conditions because terms of use do apply. Make some money with us live on Wednesday on the Power 2 here on College Football Addiction when we pick the more or less games.
They're number 3 in the country. 11-1 BYU is outside of the college football playoff. That is why, if I'm a head coach, I'm looking around the world and saying, shoot, if I'm going to get no respect unless I go undefeated at my school, then I'm not sure if I can keep doing this. I don't know if it's worth the effort because I want to win a national championship. That's where it's a human being thing. That's where I understand. That's where the Big 12's at a huge disadvantage right now.
Yeah, and you talked about this, but BYU just with – they certainly have the resources. What would be their appetite to, you talked about the reporting and, I don't know if they can match. Yeah, it's not a question of can, it's will. How outrageous would BYU get with a salary match?
Man, what's Kiffin's? Like 15 mil a year? 13? Right, yeah. Now? I think if Penn State, if Penn State said, hey, we'll give you the Lane Kiffin treatment, BYU would come back around, especially the way their NIL, the way their donorship looks right now, the way their season ticket prices have gone up. BYU would look at Kalani and say, "Hey, you're our guy. If you want the role here, then here is, we'll match what Penn State gives you up to that." Now, if they said $20 million a year, I think Jay Hill's a great head coach. I think there are a lot of options down the pipeline for BYU to get a great. They just hired a basketball coach who is all pro. They got one of the best basketball hires you could possibly imagine. They would do that again in football. They know they could do that. Brian Santiago knows he could do that. So if Kalani wants to walk, then man, if ultimately there's nothing BYU can do to keep him, the Cougars are still going to be at a very good spot because their next hire is going to be top notch. That said, I really do hope, and I think the university does as well, that next season, come game 1, Kalani's the man out there.
I might be delusional. I might not be right about this. I don't see him leaving. I'm saying, like, if I got to put a prediction in now, I'm saying Sitake stays. Or what's your early prediction? Because we may have to continue to cover this. It may draw out. We may do more videos on it, but we reserve the right to change. But what's your gut right now?
48 hours ago, I would have told you Kalani Sitake 100% never leaving BYU. As of this moment, I think it's man, really burying the lead here, keeping you on your toes. I'm going to go.
I'm going to need another one of those honor code violations here in a minute.
I'm going to go 60-40. He stays, but that 40's climbing. And that's different. That's weird. Now that's only the few distant sources that I've spoken with who just have this weird kind of pit in their stomach of maybe this could be the one. So that's where I sit right now.
Fingers crossed for the BYU Nation doesn't happen. We do well with the Penn State folks, but yeah, I don't want to see it happen. But I also love college football, and I love the tradition, and I love all that. And that is unfortunately not what a lot of people that run this sport care about. Not talking about Kalani at all, but just that's where we are in today's game. We also previewed this game coming up on Saturday. We, for the people in the comments, they'll say, why don't you just talk about the game? We did that. We did that on 2 different videos. They're both on the screen right now. You can click them and check them out. Drake, where can people follow you, find your work?
At Locked On Big 12, wherever you find your podcast, and on YouTube. Man, it's so solemn now. I feel like I'm in
I know.
Such an empty mood. At Locked On Big 12, wherever you find your podcasts, as well as at LO Big 12 on Twitter.
Appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, always fun, TJ.